Hey YouTube, just doing a video here. Recently I've been getting a lot of questions about spark plugs, what type of spark plugs to use in your small engine equipment. These two plugs here pretty much cover almost, except maybe from some, real new mowers here, pretty much cover everything. This is your NGK BPR 5ES for Honda mowers, and this is the Champion RJ19LM. Almost every Briggs & Stratton motor will use this. There may be some that might use what pretty much looks like the same thing, and it's got just a little kind of a different tip. It's not quite focusing on there, but you can see how that tip kind of tapers a little bit, whereas this one is just basically flat. As far as what to use, well, refer to your owner's manual. If you look in your owner's manual, which I have here, it's telling you to spark plug right here in the maintenance section, to clean it every 100 hours, adjust the gap, replace it every 300 hours. Going by that, if you cut your grass about 30 times a season, about an hour each time, you got about roughly, good 10 years on a spark plug. So it shouldn't be an item that you really need to service, change out. Personally, I've never seen any plugs fail, just outright fail, other than one. This plug here had no spark. This is an E3, came on a mower that had no spark, and it was the first plug that ever failed. Now there was another YouTuber, goes by TPS. Check out his video. He talks about how these don't work in 2-cycle equipment, and based on that this one failed, I would not recommend using this. The claim is that it gets better gas mileage and stuff like that, but how many miles to the gallon are you getting out of your equipment? This is basically just a waste of time and money getting one of these. But like I said, when you want to figure out what kind of spark plug you need, go back to your manual. As Chris Fix would say, check your manual. There's a whole wealth of information here. Spark plug type. This in case the Honda NGK BP5ES. They give a couple options: Nippon Denso and a Champion. If they give you options, then I would say you could go with those options. If you find something in a store on a shelf and it may say replaces, but the issue is that the coil that's in there was designed for a certain kind of plug. So based on the resistance and all that, that's what works. Now, I found this out when I was looking into, changing out automotive spark plugs. In this case, this is a particular Denso plug for a Toyota. Based on the information that I found out, was they said, when you're going to change that plug, make sure you put the same plug in. You can go and get something cheaper, and if you go to a parts store, they'll tell you, hey, I got this plug here, store brand, replaces it. But when I read into comments and stuff like that, people said that, then they had problems. So, if I pay $12 for this plug, or $8 for a cheaper plug, by the time I do the job, put them in, and then these are supposed to last 60 to 120,000 miles, that $20 savings is really next to nothing per mile, especially if it's not going to run well. So these plugs are different plugs that I pulled out of mowers that were incorrect plugs. This isn't even for a flathead engine. It's surprised that, you know, something didn't happen as far as valve damage using this. These other ones here, you know, I guess people figure, hey, I have this and it fits. Who cares? I mean, maybe it works, maybe it doesn't, but just get the right plug and you're done. Okay, another question I had was somebody, a YouTuber, Queenstown Kid, he had asked about, should I get spark plugs? Well, if they're iridium plugs, now this is an automotive plug, so this is kind of completely different. It's a dual strap plug, but it's all that I had. But basically, if it's some type of platinum or iridium, they come pre-gapped. So in those cases, usually they come packaged with this little sleeve on here to protect them so that the gap doesn't get messed up. And if you get a plug like this, you don't set the gap. It's already pre-gapped. Or to set the gap, you know, you can use one of these gauges, feeler gauge, or there's another type with sort of has a graduated disc on here, and you can just kind of move it around in there. It's not really the point of the video to show you how to gap the plug, but just that information is also given in the owner's manual, whatever that is. If it's 30 thousandths usually on one of these, and 28 thousandths on one of these, you just set that gap, put it in there. But you know, basically just use the correct plug, what's called for in the manual, because you know, you could have issues. And really, you know, more often than not, these are probably cheaper than any other plug that they say is a replacement that's better, or, you know, hotter, or whatever kind of, you know, gimmick that they're using to try to sell it. So you know, as I said, I've never seen one of these champions fail ever. I found these in mowers that were, you know, caked up really bad. Now this is not one of them, but I'm just using this for an example to show you. I've seen them, RJ19LM, pretty much found in the dirt, covered in just garbage, crap, dirt, you know, and cleaned them up, and they work. So I mean, that's a time-tested design there. So stick with what you recommend in the manual, and you should be good. Okay, thanks.